and welcome to Philosophy Talk. Today our group of philosophers will debate about the topic, the separation of church and state. Should it be together or split? The philosophers have to debate are Mr. Baruch Spinoza.
A pleasure to be here.
Mr. David Hume.
My eye hurts.
Mr. Montesquieu.
It's an honor to be on the show.
And last but not least, Mr. Allenbert.
Thank you. I've been looking forward to this all month.
Great, let's start. Why don't you commence this discussion, Mr. Spinoza?
It would be my pleasure. Hello, my name is Baruch Spinoza. I am a natural philosopher born in Holland, November 24, 1632. I am known for my naturalistic views on religion, Cartesian philosophy, a sensation and perception of reality thought to be the source of untruth and illusions, with the only reliable truth to be had in the existence of metaphysical mind, being a Stoic, human freedom, and the belief that it is virtuous to maintain a will that is in accord with nature, as said by Balibar in Spinoza and Politics, but mainly my rationalism, certain rational principles existing in logic, mathematics, and ethics. You may know me from my theological political treatises, or most importantly, ethics. I was a middle child in a prominent importing business family in Amsterdam's Portuguese Orthodox Jewish community. I was very intellectually gifted and grooming a career to be a rabbi, but was excommunicated on July 27, 1656 for my radical views on God and other subjects. My views were considered monstrous deeds and abominable heresies. As for the separation of church and state, I believe that the church and state should be separated. However, the church can be a spiritual advisor, the state should have fair and just laws, and the state should be in the benefit of the people, not themselves and the church.
Hello, my name is David Hume. I am a Scottish philosopher born in Edinburgh, Scotland, August 25th, 1776. I was an only child to my father Joseph Hume and my mother Catherine Falconer, and attended the University of Edinburgh and learning about law, but was intrigued with the studies of philosophy. I started writing my first book at age 22 and finished it at age 26. The book was called The Treatise of Human Nature, and critics called it abstract and unintelligible, although other philosophers would argue that it is one of my best works. I believe that the church and state should be separated because of my later beliefs in atheism and conflicts with the church previously.
Hello, my name is Montesquieu, and I am a French philosopher. I was born on January 18, 1689. I studied at the University of Bordeaux, and I received a law degree, but I had no interest in it with the spirit behind it. Thus, I wrote The Spirit of the Laws, a book about natural laws and social matters, which became one of my most famous works and one of my most well-known philosophies. Another one of my major philosophies is that a government should be separated into different branches depending on the characteristic of the society that it embodies, like its climate and its wealth. The three types of government that I hold are republican, monarchy, and despotism forms. My philosophies display that church and state should be separated in consideration with laws and rights, religious views, and the benefit of the state, and the choices that the governments make should not rely on the threads of religion.
Hello, I'm Jean-Lecoq d'Alembert. I'm a French philosopher and mathematician. I was born on November 17th, 1717 in Paris, abandoned on the steps of Parisian Church of Jean-Lecoq, where I received my name. I originally taught myself mostly theology, but I became more interested in medicine and later mathematics. In July of 1739, I pointed out the errors that Charles-René Renaud wrote in L'Analyse démontrée. I then fraction de cours solide. From my point of view, I believe that church and state should be separated, taking into account laws and rights, religious beliefs, and the benefit of state, for government should not be related with religion.
So, I believe that laws and rights should not be controlled by the church because they may abuse the power to make unfair laws not in the interest of the people but themselves. Instead, we should decide as a group what laws we should create. As written in the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, that in my two political treatises, I advance a number of forceful and original arguments in defense of democratic governance, the freedom of thought and expression, and the subordination of the religion to the state. As I say in ethics, all rights are derived from the state. Therefore, it does not make sense to have the church in power, but to be spiritual advisors. What do you think, Hume?
I agree with you, Spinoza, but if we put all the power in the people's hands, then our whole society would be corrupted. I feel that as a government, we should decide the laws of the state, because, anyways, they are mainly in charge of everything, so they should have a better opinion than some people who have had no experience with politics of any sort. In my book, The Treatise of Human Nature, I express the point that nothing is more surprising than the easiness with which the many are governed by the few. This shows that the government has control of the people's opinion. It is also better for agreement quicker. In Wikipedia's document, David Hume, they state how I specifically seem to support the stated religious and governmental views of my time and place. This shows that I would rather support the government in this argument rather than supporting the people. Overall, I believe that if the government decides the laws, then there will be much less conflict than having the people decide. How do you feel about laws and rights, Montesquieu?
Thank you for your input, Hume. Although that may be true, we cannot rely on the government to make the decisions concerning the people because it defies the meaning of a democracy, a preference made and determined by the public and where the people are sovereign and make most of the governmental decisions, according to the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy. My views on the laws and rights of the separation of church and state are that no person under the rule of the state should have to support something that they do not participate in and should pay taxes contributing it. I believe that there is no crueler tyranny than that which is perpetuated under the shield of law and in the name of justice, which means that no society can be oppressed by the government and be forced to do something that is not in their concern, but instead a government that works for the interest of humans. How do you feel about this topic, Mr. D'Alembert?
Montesquieu, I must agree. Keeping the balance of one's party, not controlling the others, is the ideal situation. As written in Des Collicon, an encyclopedia of prose quotations, it says that I said, high office is like a pyramid. Only two kinds of animals reach a summit, reptiles and eagles. Two parties gain to fight over the other. It will only become a bigger problem for us to deal with. I believe that laws should respect religions, however, they should not be made by the church. Yeah. We should welcome a change.
I believe that religion is not important, but just keeping the belief of God. The government wants to take the power of the church and use it to help them, while the church is doing the opposite, going and trying to take the power from the government to use it to their advantage. This is one of the advantages of keeping the state and church separated. It will keep a balance so that one party doesn't control more than the other. When I said, if he, the ruler, admits only one religion among his subjects, he must sacrifice to an uncertain prospect of tranquility. While discussing dialogues concerning natural religion, I was talking about how the ruler needs to keep an open mind on all religions instead of just focusing on one. Also, when I said, I have written on all sorts of subjects, yet I have no enemies except indeed all the Whigs, all the Tories, and all the Christians, to one of my best friends, I was trying to get the point across that I have had very few enemies, and most of them are Christian. This shows their dislike of me and my works. I believe that the church and state should be separated because of the power differences and religious power. What are your philosophies about religious beliefs, D'Alembert?
Yes, Hume, I must agree. I never became very concerned or involved with religion. However, as stated in Britannica, I willingly supported the philosophy's hostility to Christianity, even though I was a skeptic. As I said to a friend, as stated in the mathematical experience, just go on, and faith will soon return. I believe not have religious beliefs affecting our government. How do you feel?
I agree as well. However true that may be, I think that the government should not use God as a source of divine judgment, but instead decide through a fair system of justice or way to solve our problems. Stephen Nadler in Spinoza Life says, I believe that the proper stance to take toward God is not one of reverence or religious awe, but instead one of objective study and reason. Since taking the religious stance would leave one open to the possibility of error and superstition. I state this in ethics by saying God is a thinking thing, meaning God is a perception of the mind, therefore we should not turn toward God as it is an illusion of the mind. God will jumble up our government issues. Instead, we should resort to this perception of the mind for advice in situations in which we cannot find a path to take to resolve the issue. I believe Mr. D'Alembert is right about the place of the state and church. The state and church should be in, but what do you believe to be the solution, Montesquieu?
On religious beliefs, I completely agree with you, Spinoza. I believe that government should only take care of the interests of their people, not using religion as the deciding factor of their choices. In the spirit of the laws, I wrote, religion is in relation to only the good they produce in civil society. So religion must not be the main subject that encompasses a society, but only a personal matter of the individual. If religion is incorporated into the government, then it is not bound to cause good in society. Stated in the Stanford Encyclopedia of Philosophy, my beliefs show that the laws of any nation should not appeal to religious enlightenment or guidance. If the government funds religious institutions with the taxes that are paid by the country's citizens, then the government is essentially supporting church and state living together, which is not what we want to achieve. I believe that the government should not fund any religious institutions and let them run independently, because if we do, they will be dependent on the government to survive. In the spirit of the laws, I stated that laws undertake to punish only overt acts, therefore making it so that the government should not be able to pass unjust laws that are not in the benefit of the people, but laws that refrain the people from doing bad things. It would make sure that the church is unable to condemn people for breaking laws and making mistakes. In the Library of Economics and Liberty on my work, The Spirit of the Laws, they observed that I thought government taxation was absurd and illogical. This supports my point on why government should not give the taxes that shouldn't even be collected to religious institutions that not every citizen supports. Instead, they should use those taxes on the interest of its citizens, not religion. What are your views on this topic, Mr. Delaware?
Like Montesquieu said, people who are not religious paying for the taxes of religious things isn't beneficiary for other people. We need to take in consideration the benefit of the entire state. As stated in my writing miscellaneous pieces in literature, history, and philosophy, every age, and especially our own, stands in needs of Diogenes, who was another philosopher. But the difficulty is in finding men who have the courage to be one, and men who have the patience to endure one. More people need to show virtue. Richard Schwab wrote in the translator's introduction to my writings of how I was lonely and poor in my life. Reflecting on the condition that I was in, I see that I want everyone to be benefited, leading to my point of view of how I want the entire state to be benefited. Spinoza, how do you feel about this?
I agree with Montesquieu. The benefit of a state is to create laws and rules to restrain people in a fair and just way, solely to help to the interest of the people. As Susan James says in her critiques on my 3 volumes, Tractatus Theologico Politicus, Tractatus Politicus, and Premier Accretes. In a democracy, the people only obey laws that issue from the general will of the body politic and the least subject to various abuses of power. Meaning again that the state should be by the people, for the people, in which the church is not governing, abusing the power to make unnatural rules. In ethics, I say that sin cannot be conceived in a natural state, but only in a civil state, where it is decreed by common consent what is good or bad, which means that if we have church and state together, we create problems in our state's judgment of what is right or wrong, thereby creating havoc and unjust judgment to happen upon innocent people, which is not help to the benefit of the people. I believe that you two gentlemen are not aiming for the real goal of human interest. Don't you agree, Hume?
Thank you for your opinion, Spinoza, and I agree. But saying that the benefit of the state is great is almost contradicting your other statement about how the people should decide the laws and not the government. I feel that the government will decide the most fair of laws and taxes for all people to follow. As I said in my letter to Adam Smith, nothing indeed can be a stronger presumption of falsehood than the approbation of the multitude, which means that if everyone thinks something is right, then it is probably wrong, and vice versa. I believe that this would also show that all the people agree that the law would be unfit for the state. This is why I believe that the government deciding laws and taxes would be better, because there are usually a smaller group of governmental figures, so there would be less of a chance of the state becoming corrupt because of laws or taxes. I feel like the state deciding the laws and taxes are part of the benefits of the government and would help our society greatly.
Thank you today to our philosophers for their great comments and views on the topic of separation of church and state. As you can see, there was many different standpoints, but we can come to a conclusion that they want the church separated from the state. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to the ingenuity in the philosophy they have developed over the decades of their work.